Okay.
Hello, so far, who's here? Hello. Gonna hop around and drop likes. Awesome. Well, hopefully we're gonna get some more. Dave couldn't make it. His daughter's not feeling well, so that was too bad.
Yes, I started sending emails. Said, "Hey, look, what? Just set them in the corner. I mean, come on." And my wife said, "Don't do that." She said, "I
Having
can't."
kids, I always joke duct tape.
Yeah, I tell my wife all the time. I really can't be without adult supervision for very long. So she's got to be around me, keep me in line.
Yep. Well, hopefully we'll get some more in there. I got to just, like I said, start getting busier again and getting some videos up. But my life's just been so hectic, very hectic, and I tend not to air my. It's not that I care. I just don't tend to air my laundry on the thing. It's like everybody's life is busy. Everybody's life is hectic. You know what I mean? There is no. Everybody who's had kids or have kids, and like we've been taxi service. We went kind of urban camping this week with my boy who's 15 in a thing called Trail Life, which is like a Christian scouting thing. And he's doing some leadership stuff. So we were doing that. And it just seems like all I'm doing is getting up in the morning, doing this, and then kind of getting a couple of things done in the house. And then, my wife plays taxi, then I play taxi back and that kind of stuff. So,
well, it never ends though. Right. So, none of our kids are at home anymore. And but still, that's the way. During
we
the
can talk bad about
year.
Carnivore Soldier now because he's here.
during
he's
the
a good
holidays.
guy to watch. I think most people probably already watch him, but I think he and I have very different personalities, but I think we're very much alike in the sense that and probably all of us, and Chuck, just older guys just got to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
You just got to stand up and get it done. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mama Cracker. Yeah, Dave's daughter was home today from school with a fever, and so he was playing nurse. His wife wasn't going to be home till later, so. But no, I don't think she was anything serious. It was just, he couldn't just prop her up in the corner, which is what I might have done.
I think we might do another one next week. We're going to see what Dave's doing. We'll try to, but we're here for like I said, at least a whole year anyway, in and out. And the calmness. The one thing in my life that besides this change, I was going to kind of talk about, I'm doing a lot more with the church, just volunteering stuff. So I'm going to start doing more volunteer. Going to do both security and some work in the, I'd call it the AV, you know what I mean? In the back of the church, running lights. Cause I already have that kind of background with my photography. So I'm going to do that. But kind of my first calling is working in security. So
yeah,
that'll be fun. I think that'll be a good mental, it's like the carnivore diet. You just sometimes have to go, okay, I got to start doing this, and I'm active enough and my boy's active in the church and I go to, the men's Bible study and that. And I've just been wanting to get more involved. So
yeah, it's
be fun.
We've had, so many things similar, Chad, throughout our lives, and we're about the same age, except for, although we are the same age, or within a few months, I'm a few years beyond you in my cycle because my kids are all grown.
Yeah,
we were super active. Now we still attend church regularly, and I still do. I still do stuff there. I still preach on occasion or teach, but in the past we were super. I've done virtually everything. I did audio. I did the soundboard in the past, and ran the overhead projectors and stuff like that. And I don't do that stuff. I don't do that stuff now, but mostly because I was going to say that it never ends as far as the busy part, right? So we have no kids at home, and yet, I'm still just. It seems like I'm still just as busy. doing stuff right now. It's a little better for me because we got rid of most of our goats. It's been all of our goats until spring. So it's been 7 years since we've been without a good number of goats. We don't have any this winter. I'm really glad about that. We're having freezing rain here today, so I'm glad I don't have to be out. We probably have 30 laying hens, but no goats, so it's a little easier. So, but
it's been wet today. It's 60 and cloudy where I'm at.
It's wet here. It's been freezing rain since about 5 o'clock this morning, but it's getting warmer. So now it's mostly just rain. So we've had cold weather here for a good week and a half.
So here's this thought on this title thing I did. This has changed. Maybe you should. To me, we've had the wool pulled over our eyes on carnivore and health and diet. And I know Chuck and I were talking, we both shave with like double-edge razors, safety razors, if you want to call them that. I call them double-edge because they're safety razors that are single-edge. But it's still like in that. And I use like, a brush and soap. Never had a better shave. They just shave so incredible. It takes a while to find the blades. By the way, did you ever try those GSBs, the silver blues?
Yes.
With your platinum?
Actually, you know what? I went back and tried them after we talked that one evening. And I do like them. This is what I didn't like about them. Once I used them, I realized what I didn't like about it before. I think when they're brand new, absolutely, you get a better shave with them, especially if you shave every day. The thing that most people don't see, me, because I try not to get on videos unshaven very often, I may shave once every 4 days, 5 days. I mean, my wife was saying the other day I said something about making a video. I said, I can't waste a good shave. And so it's like, yeah, don't waste a good shave. I hate to shave. Now I know you shave like every morning, and it's like a thing that you
every
kind
morning.
of
It's my ritual. It's my
ritual for you, like your Zen moment of shaving. I hate to shave, and so I shave only when necessary. And of course, my wife she'd prefer I shaved every day. I just don't like to do it, and so the silvers. Yes, if I've shaved and I shave next day, or I don't have a lot of growth, it actually is better. I think they're a little sharper, but I think they dulled faster. And so like I will use a razor blade for forever. I mean, they're super cheap, right?
It could also be the coating coming off after a while.
Yeah,
some people have said that, then it's a different, the PTFE or whatever, that.
But the interesting thing, and just the way this relates to other things, as you were kind of touching on, I have a video on how to make your own electrolyte drink mix, right? So if you buy Element, it's $1.50 a tube. Okay, if you make your own, even when putting in true lime and true lemon and a little bit of stevia, it works out to like 30 cents. And that's if you're buying Redmond salt and no salt. I mean, you're buying, all of those things, mixing it up. It's about 30 cents a serving. It's $1.20. Now you just think that if, me and my wife both drink 2 or 3 of those a day, the money difference is huge. But somebody had commented on my video, too complicated. Okay. So yes, I think the issue with razors, I think the issue with the safety razor or the double-edged razor, it wasn't ever that it didn't give you a better shave. It's just too complicated, right?
Correct. It's convenience.
It's all about convenience. And it's like, if I have to make my own coffee versus buying Starbucks, it's too much of a hassle. Well, it's fine if you have the money, but we've come to convenience means everything. In fact, that relates to diet almost as much as anything else. People now, it's like, no, I can't make. In fact, we were talking before we come on about doing, making sous vide. 24 hours in there. You go through all the process. Most people, it's like, no, I want to put something in the microwave, right? I don't want to make my own food. I don't want to cook anything. It's all about convenience. I want to go drive through, right? I mean, I know people that drive through, like every day.
Well, this is also like I'm saying about this with carnivore, that it's like the whole middle of the store. It's Hamburger Helper. It's everything prepared. It's getting down to the point where, I've seen a lot of, all the nuke food when you go through the frozen aisle,
Right.
the healthy, it's like grabbing the package, throwing it in. And that's the thing with the razors. But I do think it's interesting because over the time I've been doing this, I've changed my outlook on everything else from, my shoes to the razor and shaving cream I use. I don't use the goo out of a can. Like I said, I, have a puck and a thing. And I don't, you're probably still kind of shocked. I'm like, oh yeah, you use Will, I know my shaving stuff really well, but really good tallow, really good stuff. And the skin's never been better. So even things like taking care of my skin in a shower and what I'm using, I've noticed a change. And I notice when I change something else that I kind of maybe bought into, it's better.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm curious too, for the people that are watching, if you guys have changed anything outside carnivore that you find.
Art uses Astra Platinum.
Yeah.
Blade. Hey, Johnny, how are you doing? Good to see you. By the way, I am going to order a couple more tumblers from you. So I'm going to get a hold of you very soon. I'll send you an email.
Yeah. I've been watching.
And hello from Australia.
Yeah. The Primal timeline.
No, I think that there's lots of things. And I think everybody has just different degrees of that change. And it does depend on how long you go along, Chad. Obviously, you're 3, 4, 6, 8 months in, the focus is really different. But as time goes on, a lot of things do change. I think one of the things that has changed for me, certainly, is you're just much more aware. You are more aware of what you're eating. You're more aware of what you're using as far as deodorant goes, or what your toothpaste is, and and because my wife does this with me, she also is that way, right? She's just aware of that kind of stuff. I think one of the other areas that we've become really aware of, and we were always sort of aware of this, but maybe not to the extent. And that is, if you simply rely on what, the experts tell you, without going out and doing any type of your own research, any type of your own, information gathering, then the reality is you never are making your own decision. You're just doing what you're told.
Yeah.
And I've always been aware of that, but even more aware of it today than ever before, right? The fact that, and the issue that the food that we eat today didn't exist 200 years ago. Not the food that we eat primarily, if we're eating meat and eggs and bacon, but 90% of the grocery store, right? The fact that vegetable seed oil did not exist 100 years ago, 125 years ago. Those types of things, had no clue. And the vast majority of people still have no idea whatsoever. The amount of omega-6 fatty acids you consume in your diet, the average person, which is some huge percentage of the fat intake, 40 or 50% now, or maybe more. And it was virtually impossible to get more than 6%, right? So those kind of things, people give that no thought whatsoever. And that's one thing that is radically changed for us. We're just much more aware of that than ever before.
It's also because the carnivore thing did it that I'm more like second guessing everything that I wouldn't have done before. This actually brings me, Primal Mik just hopped in, and I know on another live he was talking about going to go do a cold plunge in Lake Michigan. He said that on the live, so I know that he's going to go do this. So we were kind of talking just about how, I guess, Mike, like how things have changed. Now that you know what carnivore is like I've changed my shaving routine to like tallow soaps and like old, just getting better. Like, would you have done that cold plunge before carnivore? I guess like there's a good example of like, maybe you're like, hey, I'm starting to learn, about browning, fat and stuff like that, and those kind of things. I think that's the interesting thing that maybe a lot of us have started opening our eyes to. that we're seeing that maybe there's a lot more to this, like mouth breathing, nose breathing, the kind of exercise we're doing. It is interesting how just a diet change to me has changed what shoes I wear, what I shave with, all these other things. I've always been against like antiperspirants. I've always been against them. So that hasn't ever changed for me. I've only ever used like a deodorant kind of thing. But there's all these other little things. So I think that's kind of too those,
Yeah, I think that's true.
Just things that happen. So I'm just curious again if other people have changed what they're doing. And I know we had a couple of the things have changed my.
And I want to say hello to my nephew, who actually is, I've never seen him, certainly not in one of my live views before. So Joseph, yes, come out to the house, bring the wife and the babies. So
change my soap, my shaving cream, drinking water, reverse osmosis, salt, deodorant, and toothpaste. Also grounding, walking barefoot. Yeah, see the water, like I've always, because Phoenix water is always kind of gnarly. So we had reverse osmosis for a long time, and our thing finally let go and totally broke down. And I bought one of the Berkey, which are kind of those weird silver, tall, thin things with all the filters inside. They're kind of hippie, but it works really well. The water tastes really good and softens the water here.
Yeah. Now one
thing I'm curious.
We have awesome well water.
Yeah. So I used to, but the tooth thing, I'm radically changing that. And I'm going to do a video. Like I said, I've got some more photo stuff I've got to do up through Thursday. So I'm going to try to start getting videos back out. And I know I'm still busy up through Friday this week. I know my schedules because I got to break down all my video gear that then becomes my photo gear. So it's kind of like, I don't have dedicated, but since I'm getting out of photography, I'll have it up all the time. Now, the grounding thing is interesting. And the toothpaste thing, like I said, I'm going to do a video on the dental care that I'm radically changing. But the grounding thing is interesting because me being from Hawaii, like I was always barefoot. Even here in Arizona, I'm always barefoot as much as I can be. I don't know if it makes a difference to me. Now, whether it's just because grounding can build up in your system. And I know there's some scientific tests, like if you do a grounding thing, there's actually, I guess, some fact about blood thinning, I think it is. You guys can correct me in the thing if I'm wrong, but like it'll actually change, that molecular structure. But I don't know if it's a buildup, and I've just done it for so stinking long that I don't ever notice a difference between going barefoot or not. But because I've done it so long,
I don't think it builds up.
Hawaiians. See, and I don't know, because like I said, I've always had, unless I'm living in the cold section of like winter here now, and I can't hike in bare feet here because it's Arizona and there's way too many thorns. My shoes already just get full of just, and I even have these like thorn protectors in my shoes, and sometimes they'll go through those. Because I tried it and it was just a mess. There was just no way I could do it. I just was too painful. But in the islands, just cheap rubber slippers or bare feet, I hiked in all the time.
I have I've looked into that. Professor Barquet, who was on my channel, long ago. He actually is a big proponent, and he talked about some of the research. There has been some stuff done. It does actually it does lower your blood pressure. At least, again, it seems to do these things according to studies. So it lowers your blood pressure. It lowers your cortisol levels. It's supposed to lower the inflammation in your body.
Jonathan's here.
So it's supposed to do a lot of good stuff, right? In the summertime, I have done a little bit. I've looked at getting a grounding pad for our bed. I just haven't done it. I don't know. In the end, Professor K said this, is there definitive studies that show real benefits? No, but it looks like there's some real benefit, and it's certainly no downside probably, right? So he's a pretty big proponent. I haven't really. I've thought about doing a video on that, but you know, I'm not sure where I come down exactly. I kind of think what Professor K says is true. It probably does have some benefits, and you know, probably no downside, right? So what's it hurt? Outside of if you buy a grounding pad or something like that, you're out the money. So
yeah, that's kind of a, you know, again, I it's like salt. Some people feel they don't need it. Some people do. I don't know. Maybe not build up then. I just wonder if people have never been grounded enough, maybe, that they've never had that benefit. Does that make sense too? I don't know. I just don't know.
I would say this though as well. Like
Jonathan, I'd love you to weigh in on this.
Let's say you don't have a lot of inflammation in your body. You don't have high blood pressure. You don't have a lot of those issues. Then you're not going to see as much benefit, right? I mean, maybe there's still more, but I would think that you know, maybe not. So,
Johnny, that's like here in Arizona too, man. Not the goat heads, but we have just so much stuff. Because, like I said, plus when you're here in the summer and it's like 118 degrees out, the ground is, you know, I don't know what it is, but it's insanely. That's probably it, is the correlation.
Yeah, produces blood viscosity, exactly. Yeah. Again, I think that, you know, I don't see any downside, right? And so if there is some benefit, then it's probably a good thing.
It's like carnivore. It's like telling somebody, go carnivore, try it. Quit telling me that, oh, well, you know, don't, just try it and see if it helps you.
Yeah.
It's like dairy. Some people can do it, some people not. On Jonathan's earlier video that I had time to jump in on, you know, they were talking about dairy a little bit. And I know this goes back and forth. I will say this, dairy, if you're trying to lose a ton of weight and you're having a lot of problems losing weight and you're eating a ton of cheap cheese or drinking a lot of milk, cut it out and see if it changes. But like myself, I can do dairy and I do the Parmesan cheese for no gallbladder, and I have really no issues with good raw dairy Parmesan cheese, which is the Italian. So it has to be from raw dairy and it's going to be A2. Now, whether those matter or not, I don't know. I think it's almost like dairy.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm saying it's like dairy.
I forget that that's Jonathan, because your channel name had changed. And so it's just now, it just struck me again. Yes. Impactful just to be outside, then specifically grounded in the river sea with bare skin exposed. Yeah. Hope you're doing well, Jonathan.
You know what we should do? I don't know. I'm thinking something here. Let's I gotta find my link to this. I was thinking I should post the link there, and if Carnivore Soldier and Jonathan want to jump in here on this live. You good with that?
Oh yeah. Fine with
I'm just going to post it in the chat. If you guys want to jump in on this, I'm going to post this there, yeah. Because
Jonathan could be outside in bare skin.
Well, Jonathan's perfectly right up the alley of the Carnivore Strong. He's stronger and bigger than both of us together.
He could be outside right now in bare skin and just be on his phone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, I post that. If you guys want to jump in and give a little quick chat and even hit that into your, you know, YouTube as an impromptu thing. I know it's kind of, you know, but that's, I think, sometimes great about this small community. It's like this impromptu stuff is where it gets good. And
you know, there are so many people. I was on a channel last week, Stephen in the UK, by the way, who had me on for about 40 minutes. It was not a live, it was just an interview. But the super nice guy, I had never seen his channel before. And he sent me, left me a comment, or maybe sent me an email from my page, asked me if I wanted to come on. And it was a great guy. So yeah, go check it out. What's the name of his channel? I might as well plug him while I'm on here. Let me see if I can find it.
I don't know. Plug it in there. Yeah. I know this right here, what Jonathan's saying. For me, it's about impact of being outside, specifically ground, best case scenario. When the weather is nicer here, when it's not quite so cold or quite so hot, which is still a good chunk of our yearly time, I try to eat outside with my shirt off just to lean back, sit, eat, when I'm outside all the time. And again, that was that thing that, working on boats in the islands. I mean, I was always just in my surf shorts all the time, getting a lot of sun. And I know we brought this up with a lot of carnivores too. You don't burn as easy anymore.
Yes. No, you do not. Coach
That's
Stefan.
a huge thing.
Only the people on my channel can see that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Coach Stefan.
Yep.
Steven, sorry. Coach Steven, but it's with a PH. So Stephen.
Yeah.
Great guy.
No, so I believe that too. And that's why my morning hikes, again, I've got to get back to them because this last few weeks have just been so hectic. I love being up before the sun rises because I have heard there's a lot to that, getting that morning sun. So when I start out with a headlamp and get out there and do my second half of the hike, for an hour in the rising sun, I do feel better. I got to say, I notice a difference of how I approach the day and I'm more done. Yeah. And that's another change, hearing about a lot of stuff with light. And I know Jonathan's big on the blue blockers and stuff like that. Like these have the photo gray, or whatever, photosensitive light changing lenses. I'm going to try my next pair of glasses without, just because I've heard that you don't want to block too much. Now, if I'm going to work on the water, I'm going to have polarized glasses, or if I'm driving against glare, I want polarized glasses. But for daily stuff, I'm going to try those and just see if I notice any difference.
Yeah, you want the blue light in during the day and out at night.
Yeah, and not to kind of, block that out.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
I do that some as well. If I'm,
no worries, mate.
My problem is, full disclosure, is that there's just certain things that I am always just sporadic. I am I'm sporadic in certain areas like that. So I have a nice pair of glasses that block. Just when you put them on, if you put these glasses on, you virtually cannot see the color blue. Right? Blue becomes black or green or gray, but it's not blue anymore.
Yeah.
But I forget to put them on. I do that kind of stuff. And so I just often forget. So outside of, is there anything else? I mean, obviously mindset is a big thing, which I've talked about in the past, at least that, my outlook on life is different. I've always been pretty optimistic, I would say, but even more so now than before.
Yeah.
Hello from Denmark, the carnivore boss. I almost thought it said the carnivore bass, and bass are carnivores. They definitely eat meat, but the carnivore boss. Hello to Denmark from Central Missouri in the middle of nowhere. The link is not working. That's odd.
For Coach Stevens.
Carnivore Soldier says the link's not working.
Huh.
You should have been able to copy and paste.
I know who you're talking about, though, because I have.
He says the link says it ended. Did you send him last week's?
I could have. Let me get. Hang on. Let me just go to a new window here.
Here we go. How about this?
Yeah, you can punch it in too. Doesn't matter which one of us do it.
Except for he can't see it, but you can copy and paste.
I might have grabbed the old one. Yeah, I think that was an old one. Sorry. Time to mess with people. Here, come on in. Here's the old link.
On in.
That's so horrible.
If you can't get in,
morning, people.
It's because I sent you a bad link.
Yeah, I agree with this too, John. It's like, it's amazing this last 3 weeks when things have been hectic and I've been staying up a bit later, catching up compared with what it was, just my ability to do it, and honestly, there's this mental thing because I've got some videos and I got to just start putting them up. But sometimes I get this like, oh, shouldn't have said that right. I want to make this a little better, a little more clear in doing stuff. And I've even noticed like I'm more critical of myself when I don't get up really early in the morning and get that sun going and get that energy going, that my mental state it kind of like pushes back and double checks me more. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? You know what I mean? I'm more cautious of what is going on.
Yeah, my problem is I get up, well, in the wintertime before daylight. I get up at 6. My issue is that I don't go to bed. And so that's my problem. Again, that's an issue.
I didn't know he's in Denmark. I did not know that because I know that the logo and stuff. So
Carnivore
I know that.
boss?
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Maybe he's vacationing.
I didn't know that.
Do you live in Denmark, or are you just there on a holiday?
Sorry about that, layer 2 with the link. My bad. See,
Yeah,
I'm still kind of an idiot, even though I'm carnivore for so long. Did you post it? I think you posted the one.
He can't get to it from me.
Oh,
I mean, unless he's on my page, he's not going to see it.
Oh, that's true.
There we go.
Post that. Sorry about that. Sometimes the train still doesn't leave the station 4 years after carnivore. That's just part of life.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah. The 2 midgets wake me up.
Yeah, sleep is another issue. You know, I don't get enough probably.
Hey, buddy. Sorry about that, man.
Hey, that works.
Oh.
So, Carnivore Soldier, I'm not sure we've ever met.
We haven't. How's it going?
Nice to
meet
you.
I'm gonna do that link you sent me to and get that going. I know I'm busy through this Friday. My schedule is like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
For the interview thing.
No
I got to get
worries.
you on too to do an interview because that one got messed up and we got to get that going. And that thing called life, that thing called life. I just want to have a few $1,000,000 set aside so I can make enough where I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to donate 3 million, I'll take it.
Or even just $1 million.
Yeah.
True. But why not 3 if you're going to do it? I mean,
I guess so.
If you don't have 5, you'll be like the poorest millionaire around. You need 5.
You need 5.
True. True.
I would say, outlook on life is probably pretty significantly different.
So I'm curious to ask you, what's on your shaving? What did you change in your shaving? What did you go to?
I got rid of the gel too, and I use a brush and I use some soap. It's I forget the name of it. I got it on Amazon. It's in a bowl, so I use the brush and so that's my deal. That's cool. That's what I like. Yeah, and it's just I like it better anyway.
There's a forum, Badger and Blade. If you look at Badger and Blade forum, it's pretty cool, full of shaving nerds, big time.
Carnivore Muscle just sent you 3 million. I just hold the blade and dry shave.
That is awesome. Thank you, sir.
That
like
is
the knife. Like
that's what men do in Missouri.
In the Army, you do the knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your helmet.
I actually had
I have shaved out of a helmet before.
I didn't have a true straight, but they make a thing called Artist Club blades. And I had a Japanese straight that then takes like these blade inserts. And I tried that here last month. I actually shaved with a straight for a whole month. I like it, but it wasn't any better than my double-edged razors. So it was like, and it's definitely more careful work, you know?
Yeah. Well, you don't shave your chin though, which actually is in some ways cheating.
No, it's not. That's I'm trying to look for if I got my other junk.
I'm shaving my chin now. Remember, I used to be like you, Chad.
That's right. Yeah, that's what's changed. I was kind of starting to, you know what I mean? I was just thinking it's like, oh, maybe the lighting or something. But yeah, that's what made you do that.
It's kind of funny, but I was trimming and I left my guard off and I shaved half it off by accident. I was like, oh, it's gone. I just took it off. I'm like, that was like New Year's morning too. I hadn't drunk or anything. I just screwed up and didn't put my guard back on after I trimmed my sides. And I was like, well, that's fine. I'll take it off. I can grow it back.
So she's
It is
with
funny.
her and a female. That's awesome. Hello.
Okay, so
think
now,
from the
did you know
background.
the Carnivore Boss or not, Chad?
I know the
I-
channel because I know the logo and I've been out there before. So yeah, I kind of, you know what I mean?
Okay. Because obviously
So I was curious.
I was calling Carnivore Boss a guy and
Yeah.
didn't know where he lived. So I was off on location, gender, probably everything else. So
Yeah.
sorry,
So that,
Carnivore Boss.
Oh, that's right. Okay, now I remember too. I see. I remember the logo, but then I didn't remember. I'm gonna hit this sub on her, because you know what I mean. The logo stands out.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think all of us, we see so much stuff come up through our stream. You know what I mean? You see so much come through your YouTube recommendations all the time.
Yes,
it's hard
exactly.
to remember. It's kind of like. And I think you guys can understand that. It's like I said, I was going to start doing church security. I'm going to be volunteering for that, and the church we have is Scottsdale Bible. It's pretty big. And I'm at one of the campuses, the Cactus campus. So like the main guy, I went in there and met him. And then I went back in again this last week and, he couldn't quite place me. Well, yeah, because, you see whatever, 1,000 people a week and I see you one time, I know the difference, It's kind of like as we get to know each other. And I was saying that too, like, Larry and I, it's like, I think there's that different personalities, but the same message, the same thing. Like, I'm really forgiving on people if they've got to do what they've got to do to get rolling in this. But I think we're both also that just sometimes you just gotta toughen up and do it and quit making the excuse and just go, okay, I'm just going to have to go strict for this time, and you might be more that military side coming out. And I'm probably definitely more the Hawaiian dive instructor. Like, okay, dude, just, we'll get you through this,
Did you see my video I put out on how not to fail?
I saw that one. Yeah.
Where I talk about making an escrow account. Like if you get someone that says they can't do it, I could never give up coffee. Really? Okay. If we got an escrow account and I put a $25,000 check in it and I was able to follow you around for 30 days. And if you drank coffee, you lost that money. But if you made it to the end of 30 days, you get it. Would you have a problem? And they're like, oh no, that's not, that's because they have total faith in the escrow account and the check. They don't have faith in the vehicle of the carnivore diet. And that's really what a lot of this decision making is.
That's a good analogy on that.
And it's understandable because they failed in every diet they've been in. I have. If they hadn't, they wouldn't be here. If keto would have worked, they'd be keto right now. If standard American diet would have worked, they'd be standard American diet. They got here because everything failed.
Yeah. And we talked about this before. So many came from the keto into carnivore because it just, like I say, keto was the door, carnivore opened it to health. That's how my saying goes.
Yeah. Well, and I think, a lot of people don't have, they've tried everything because that's what most of us have done, right? I mean, literally dozens of diets. And I did start in keto, right? And like so many other people did. But I think one of the things that happens now, carnivore especially, is so radically different from what we've been told for our entire lives, just about, right? Yeah. But certainly, if you're much younger than me, you have been told this your entire life, that all of that is bad. So it's not just here's a diet, try it, right? Because you've tried 20 other diets, or go ahead, try this one. It's the fact that it's almost like saying, look, I guarantee you can lose weight by smoking crack. Just give it a shot. Crack is so bad, that's not really an option, right? So when you tell someone, hey, just eat fatty red meat and bacon and eggs, and nothing else for 90 days, they're like, that's insane. It's not just that they don't believe it will work. It's just in fact, I've seen doctors and other people, but also doctors. Yeah. Not even carnivore, just talk about keto. Keto will work, but it's not worth the risk. right? It's like, it's just so bad. Well, if keto is really bad, imagine how bad it is if you just don't eat a single fleck of fiber, for the next year. People think that that's insane. And so it's not even an issue of believing it will work. It's just this thing about, but I think there's a lot of things. I mean, one is they don't have faith in the diet. Some, they've just been fear-mongered into not being willing to try it. The other thing is I do think at some level, what people really want is they want to lose the weight and get healthy without any cost at all. Right? If the option was be carnivore or take this pill, right? You talked about the $25,000 in escrow. The inverse is also true. If I could promise them they could do anything they wanted and eat exactly what they have been, but do this one thing that was simple, like eat a pill every day, they'd pay me $25,000, right? Because and we talked earlier, Chad, about the convenience issue. You don't want to sacrifice anything. You don't want to give anything up. That is a huge thing, right? I mean, I've had people say, right. I've had people say, I tried low carb. No, I don't know what you call low carb, but if you're talking about you ate less than 25 or 30 total grams of carbs a day for 90 days, there's no way you did that and didn't lose weight, right? Because you can't pork enough meat and fat in your face to gain weight in 90 days if you stop eating carbs, right? I mean, unless there's some really truly underlying issue, I don't know what it would be, but it's hard for me to imagine what that is. So a lot of it's just people, there's all kinds of reasons to keep people from doing it, unfortunately.
Right.
But the difference in life is, and I know Chad's story. I don't know your story, so your background, but me and Chad both lost. I lost 120 pounds. Chad lost about the same. It is radically different, right? My life is radically different than before. So,
mine too.
He's also almost like
pounds.
a foot taller than you, Chuck.
I'm
He's
5'6". I'm short.
Which is funny because in the video it's actually like, you know what I mean? He should be
a tall
dude, and we should.
I look tall because I'm wearing boots. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing, like with that money thing. Like I've talked to people and I said, look, I know being a fat guy at one point, I was there. You would pay money to lose weight if you could.
Absolutely. People pay to get surgery.
But yet they won't throw out food from their pantry because they bought it and I got to use that up first. Well, call that your college that you paid for and you wasted and you didn't do what you did in college, and college costs you a lot and you learn from it. And Larry and I have gone through this, and I've kind of said that because sometimes I kind of miss that point. You have to learn from it. Like I say, just accept the fact you had something bad or you did something and learn from it, move on, but just throw that out and then go buy a bunch of meat. So you threw out something that was $150 and you bought something that was $150. It cost you $300, but it's going to work. Yeah. But also besides that, I think too, people just are afraid because, and I was too, it sounded like a science experiment when I first heard about keto. It sounded like science class, like keto, I've never heard of ketones and ketogenic stuff when I started it 5 years ago. And so many people have been conditioned for their whole life to think you need these other things, right? And I think that's where also all of us speaking up and seeing all these people. And I think this is what's great about all the new channels. All these people would be supposedly, dead, scurvy, dying, whatever, if this didn't work, but it does. So there's that side of it too. I think it's just a conditioning of human. Go for it.
It's really fantastic that we all have such diverse backgrounds and but the same results, right? I was just talking to Carrie at Homestead How about this. We started 2 days apart on our diet. And we have experienced the same thing, although we had never met until we just got into the channel recently. But it just shows that, it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter, what your genealogy is really. If you because you're Homo sapien, if you eat this food a certain way, it just works. And it's really because it's it's our biology, right? And I think that's what's awesome. So it's great that I can be a soldier, I can be a wounded warrior, a disabled vet, and I can heal up quite a bit mentally, physically. Go from not even be able to run since 2017 to running sprints again, losing 46 pounds. Things are just miraculous to me because your body is a miracle engine, and it just needs the right fuel. It's kind of like having a top fuel dragster and trying to run it on Crisco oil, right? It's just, it may get down the road, but it ain't going to go full speed. It ain't going to go what it's designed to do. But when you put top fuel in it, that thing will go 300 miles an hour in a quarter mile, right? So I think that's what we are. And I think that's what people realize after the first month. At least I did.
And I think Chuck,
you're muted. You got to mute.
I'm trying so hard.
There it goes.
Trying so hard. No, I think everybody at some point kind of comes into that spot where they do realize what is appropriate for us to eat is not what we've been consuming predominantly, right, for decades. And if you eat what's really appropriate, it really does change the way that your body functions and the way that your body heals, the way that you feel, how often you get sick. I mean, in fact, almost to the point to where when you talk about that, people just think that you're a loony, right?
Yeah.
Like when you say, I don't get sick, right? I don't get sick, or, you care about what's in your toothpaste, or they just think you've gone off the deep end, right? It's like, oh yeah, come on. I mean, you never get, well, yeah, I get sick, I guess on rare occasion, maybe, a couple years ago, but not very often. In fact, I think I still get sick sometimes. I mean, we're around people that, they're sick. Yeah. And so here's how I get sick. I get up one day and I feel a little off. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of tired today. Well, see, I probably had something, but that's the extent of my sickness. And not that that's always the case, but I just think that, you're right. Our bodies were designed to do so much more than what they're capable of, because they constantly deal with the inflammation and all the stuff that we put in them. It always has to deal with that. It never gets to deal with other issues. And, it's just a fact that when your body's in a weakened state, you're more susceptible to those things. By the way, we still have issues throwing stuff out, Chad. Like we have a very large pantry. And, I was in there the other day cleaning stuff up. It's like, do we still need this oatmeal? Really? Like, we haven't eaten oatmeal for like 3 years. Do we need this? Right. You look at stuff, it's like, why do we still have this? Because we're not going to eat it
for survival. I kept some canned food for survival food in case the economy collapses, whatever. I mean, I have some, but
we have
stores.
We have some, but we've tried to move to predominantly stuff that we will eat so we can cycle through it. So even if it's,
well, that's the other thing. Like that's almost a whole nother, like, survival type food, I think, is a whole nother situation, Pemmican. Like, I don't mind if it got bad. Yeah. Pemmican, if I can make a bunch and then have it, and that kind of stuff. There was a really good thing I'm going to do, like I said, start getting a video. There was a book I found too about living on the prairie. I'm going to read some junk out of that kind of relates to that Lewis and Clark. Because remember me, I don't know if you guys ever saw that Lewis and Clark video.
I did.
When they talked about killing buffalo and for we would only take the marrow, bone, and tongue. And I was always like, what is it about this tongue? This book about this prairie living with the Indians back in the day, Native Americans, whatever is the correct, you know what I mean? It was really interesting because they were talking about how buffalo tongue was like fit for royalty and how they would take it and split it and do all this stuff. So I was like, my gosh, that kind of answers why they would take the tongue, because I know they learned quite a bit from the Native Americans on how to eat properly. And when you go back in history too, and you look at those Native Americans and the Plains Indians were the tallest humans in existence at that time for their average height, and that's been recorded. And oh, well, they ate a lot of corn. No, they didn't. It's like they followed the buffalo. That is what they did. They followed the buffalo. So when you try to say they had these huge gardens, how can you follow a buffalo herd throughout seasons? And when you look at the plains and the weather conditions they had, yes, they did eat other stuff, but in small amounts when it was available, but not for the hunt, you know?
I would say it's not even just
think,
when it's available. I'd say they probably ate it when meat wasn't available. They probably kept it
yeah,
around.
that's what I meant. I guess that's what I meant, you know, but I think the
Yeah.
berries they probably did pick when they were hunting. Like I said, when we used to hunt in the islands, we would be out in the bush and we would either, you know, like if we had water with us, but the one side that we would drop down to was filled with coconut trees. So we would just pick up coconuts to drink. And the one area had a bunch of sometimes pineapple after they leave some, you know, and sometimes we'd eat it when we're going, but strawberry guavas are the common wild growing weedy fruit in the islands. And we would have a couple, you know, just to kind of wet the mouth, if you will, and stuff like that and get a little bit of energy, you know, on a long day hunt. Because we would go out with nothing. We were not like modern. I mean, we would just literally go out like in a surf shirt and maybe like a camo top, and that's about it. You know, it's very different there. That's what I miss. I do miss that side of it, though.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about this. Have you ever tried the grounding thing much then, or are you going to try it?
Me?
Carnivore Soldier?
Who?
Larry,
I
you
do
are
it.
you going to try you do it? Okay.
I do it. I haven't
Since
done
this is
week.
about, I
No,
kind of
so
what you know. I
we're
mean,
talking-
just keep on topic about things that have changed, and since that's something kind of you wouldn't have done that if you didn't know carnivore. I don't think you wouldn't have probably fallen into
Right.
that.
Although when I was a kid, I grew up in California and I was barefoot all summer long. I mean, I rarely wore shoes, even riding bikes and stuff. I had some drastic, catastrophic foot injuries from riding bikes without
I
shoes.
bet, yeah.
That's just part of growing up, and skateboarding, you know, all the stupid stuff you do. No helmet, no shoes. You know, that's why we did stuff. But here I am, got 2 feet at work, and I walk my dog around the block and try to do a lap around the block barefoot. And it's also toughening my feet up, which is great because they used to be really tough. I mean, my feet, I could walk in the hottest sand, you know, and it didn't bother me back then because I go to Santa Cruz and the sand would get really hot. And you see all the people from the valley would be like hopping, and I'd just see walking like, oh yeah, that's cool, you know. You could tell who was used to it and who wasn't. And I want to get my feet conditioned. And here in Austin, it gets hot, you know, in Austin, Texas. So I do try to go out. I like to do it in the morning, though. Early is what I really like, and catch the sunrise while I'm doing it too, because I think that's part of it, the sunrise therapy, and the walking the dog around the block. And he loves it. Oh, huge! Yeah, I watch that sunrise. No sunglasses, just being out there. But you know, we were saying you don't get sick, so I haven't been sick since March 22nd. Like normally, I would get a summer cold or flu. I would get a fall one during the holidays. And then winter would come and I'd probably get one too. And March 22nd is when I started. I haven't been sick since then, except for this week. And I got a staph infection, but that's from actually an injury, which I know exactly where I got it. And so your body's still going to fight infections. You're still going to, things are going to happen in life, you know, and you may get sick, but my body is reacting way better. I just started my antibiotics now, but a lot of these, you know, things are already healing up. And I can tell my immune system is really kicking in high gear. I just ate a lot of butter, added some vitamin C to it, you know, and vitamin D, and just rolling in, and your body just handles it better. So it does. You're not going to not get sick all the time. Some things will happen in life.
Right. Yeah, it does. It doesn't make you immune to you know, to life completely, right? But there is just an issue of, you know, the body is in the best shape it can be. You're not sick all the time, right? That's
right.
I think my analogy would be
sure.
you take a guy who's like an MMA fighter or a boxer, and you know, if you basically walked up to somebody and said, you know, let me hit you 3 times, not, you know, you could walk up to a boxer and hit him as hard as you want in the stomach, and he's just kind of going to go, okay, what? You walk up to a regular guy on the street and hit him in the stomach, like you'll knock the wind out of him so bad he'll just be like, you know what I mean, on the ground. You know what I mean? That is the best analogy that I can think of kind of quickly, because your body now is so strong. When it gets hit by something, it's kind of like, okay, whatever, there was something that kind of, you can brush off. I do think there's something to that. I got to say though, the sand thing, when I was in my 20s, I worked at Black Rock. If anybody's ever been to Maui, there in Anapali and Black Rock, we used to lay a hose out like when the beach would get long, and we'd put a sprinkler hose out so the tourists would have like a wet spot to get out toward the beach. Because even like in bare feet, like when we were loading the boat, I used to carry two scuba tanks. You kind of hold them in 2 fingers. So you're literally carrying 4 tanks. You know what I mean? So you've got probably about 120 some pounds of weight loading the boat. And I would be barefoot across gravel carrying like 4 tanks. My feet were so tough and used to it. And now they're not, because I do have to wear shoes here so much, when I don't have to, I don't. And I don't know if that's also part of what makes some people, I guess, all those little things you do with the grounding does still kind of make me wonder if there's something with people maybe that have done it a longer time or not. I'm still skeptical, is I guess what I'm saying, how much it helps some people versus like what Jonathan, you were saying too, about getting up in the morning. Like, what is the difference if I'm going to be grounding, but if I could just force myself to get up and be up for sunrise, that like I've been doing recently, what is that way? Does that make sense? What is the balance difference, do you guys think?
I think part of it too. I think part of it too is that although we're all much more alike than we are different, but we're not exactly alike. So, it's just like the fact that, some people feel their absolute best if they eat just beef, salt and water, right? And a lot of times you'll hear those people advocate, I feel my absolute best when I just eat beef, salt and water. But not everybody feels their absolute best when they eat just beef, salt and water, right? Because they just don't. It's just like the difference between the amount of fat that I eat versus what my wife eats. She wants more fat than I do. Does cutting out dairy help? Yeah, some people immensely. Some people not nearly as much. I've always eaten dairy the entire time. I still do it now. Do I notice a difference if I don't? Maybe just a little, but not enough for me to cut it out, right? But other people, Teresa O, right? She eats dairy and it's just like, she does it on occasion, but not very often because she feels the impact. And so, does grounding help? Yeah, but does it help everybody the same level? I don't know that it does, right? Maybe. It's just one of those things. I think that generally, certainly doing predominantly fatty meat, carnivore, ketovore type stuff is the absolute best thing. But there's a spectrum in there. Is grounding good? Maybe for, maybe it will impact other people more than others.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. And sometimes we just, it's like getting up and walking in the sunrise, right? I've done it twice. I'm 59.
Yeah.
Would I do it every day? Probably not. Only because
I'm the young guy here, huh?
Do I notice enough difference to do it when I don't really want to do it? The answer is probably no, right?
I should,
and so that's the thing. Like,
I should clarify what I'm skeptical on with this. I'm skeptical sometimes of other sides of it being such a huge thing to do something versus the natural. Like, and I'm not saying it's wrong, because you have to try these things, and this is why, like when the weather is not too cold or too hot, I'm out there in bare feet with no shirt on eating. But I just wonder, like, if this barefoot, being up for the sunrise, walking on the ground, the earth, whatever it is better than, say, like the pads and the mats and doing this. Is there a difference, or is it all the same? Maybe that's a better way for me to put it. Does that maybe bring more light into, especially
for
the
store-bought buying a pad?
Yeah. It's So I think this is my,
I'm
you
on
know, and
board with
sometimes
that.
I'm just bad about getting my point across because I'm thinking it in my head and I don't relate it.
So
because
is a
there a
grounded
difference
pad
between those two?
right? Is there a grounded pad different than walking out in the grass? Maybe some, but you are still grounded. But you
Vitamin
can't.
D where I live and supplementing it. That's the best analogy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've got the natural stuff here every day. So if those people can't do it, that's maybe my skepticism side.
Well,
so I'd love to
yes,
hear too from the crowd.
But I think that being grounded is an issue of being grounded. Like you know, whether you're, I don't know, the grounded is an electrical thing, right? So whether you're grounded on a pad or whether you're grounded on the ground, I'm not sure that matters that much. Vitamin D is slightly different because obviously you're producing it yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna make my own post.
I've seen some grounding pads that are like mattress pads, though. I don't know about that. I mean, the pads you stand on, it makes more sense to me. I don't know about a mattress pad or a blanket or whatever. I've seen some other grounding.
I know Jonathan has stuff, that he does, and he's really following it for his health, with the blue blockers and things like that.
Yeah.
And again, I think this is all stuff we have to try. This is what I was writing. This is like grass-fed versus grain-fed.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, it's just a fun debate and an interesting thing of what works and what we notice. Because I don't know if Chuck knows this. I don't know if you know this. Like I've been eating a ton of lamb recently, and I've really been well on it. I'm better on lamb than I am on beef now. Now I have a bad histamine, as you can kind of hear me sniff once in a while. I've always had really bad allergies, and when I say bad allergies, again, like I'm talking anaphylactic shock bad allergies. So is it the fact that it's not wet aged because it's halal? Or is it that it's always going to be grass-fed and raised? But I've had grass-fed beef before and it didn't tend to make any difference to me. So what is it in the lamb? And this is almost like the grounding. It's working for me. These are these things that just make my mind kind of go, okay, what is this that I got to put my finger on and I can't? Because I'm doing chuck roast again for the next couple of days, and I've had a bunch for the last 3 or 4 days after my lamb, and I can tell there's a difference.
I think though, so
it's weird.
This is one of the things though, which I always earlier when I was saying I wasn't getting sick, right? I mean, which is true, but it is a false assumption to definitively say it's just from carnivore. And it's the same way we do this with everything. My wife does it. She loves onions. And it's like she'll eat, there's Joan right there. That's my lovely wife.
Yeah.
She'll say, "Oh, I'm glad, we'll be around some sick people. Well, I didn't get sick because I was eating a lot of onions and taking vitamin C." Maybe, right? But just because you happen to be taking, and then if you get sick and you hadn't been eating a bunch of onions and you say, "I should have been eating more onions," maybe not, right? So I think it's that way with everything, right? It could be that somebody's just, they're feeling a little under the weather. They eat some grass fed. It's like, I didn't really feel very good. Well, maybe they were sick. Who knows? I mean, we just draw those kind of conclusions sometimes without really, we make the association without really having kind of any real logical kind of thing about it, right? And you just go through life. When you're 3 or 4 years into it, you really do kind of do it enough to figure out, what's working and what's not working, right? And lamb may be like really good for you, Chad. My wife doesn't really care
Jonathan just
for
said
it very
that with
much.
omega-3 and the histamines. I didn't know about the omega-3s, I guess.
Yeah, more omega-3 and less histamine.
Yeah,
it's just probably
me,
not
just
the lamb.
Messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the N equals 1. That's the experiment, right?
Probably like 15,000 dives of compressed air did something to the brain that I just don't know about.
The difference between grass-fed versus non-grass-fed, we have both sometimes, but
I don't notice a difference.
I don't either. And is there a difference? Maybe.
Yeah,
I guess.
The pocketbook
I'm
is
sure
the
there
difference.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the
But for
difference.
maybe for some people, there really is a difference, right?
Michaela
I'm
Peterson.
gonna
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
she said
and
that
maybe
she
like
asked you.
myself, who has these severe rhinitis, sinusitis issues lifelong. It might be those little things. For Susan, like Costco and both Sam's Club have these little lamb chops, and they're like $6 a pound, and they're awesome. I
Yeah.
like it better than the leg of lamb. The only downside is, like I've said before, the little T-bone part, your teeth are too wide, like your palate's too big this way for the bone, so you got to kind of pick out the meat. But then I've been making bone broth with it, and it's awesome. It's really awesome.
The biggest difference with lamb, I've eaten, I don't know how many different kinds of meat, including raccoon, right? I've eaten a bunch of different kind of meat. Lamb is the one meat that has the most distinctive flavor. It is lamb. It doesn't taste like chicken, right? Nothing tastes like lamb. Well, nothing that I've eaten. Maybe llama. I haven't tried that. But, goat does not taste like lamb. Deer don't taste like lamb.
No.
Bison, buffalo, black bear, nothing, right? Lamb has a distinct flavor. And if you've never eaten lamb before, sometimes that distinct flavor is, like my wife doesn't care for it very much.
Goat is a step up on, if you're going to call it gamey, goat is a step up on that. But this is what I'm saying. So this is
your goat killed in a guy's
saying,
backyard and stuck on a skewer over a pit.
It's not. I'm saying though, like that. I've had the other goat where it's done that way, but it's like still that I'm saying, to me, that's what it's like. It's more like a different thing, and what I'm getting. That's what I'm saying. So there's that interpretation of like a New York is this way, or a rib, you know what I mean, or grass fed. Like some people like more, and that's what I noticed. But that's the interesting thing, that everybody has their
So goat, to me,
of what they like.
The goat.
Like I don't eat chicken anymore, but I never liked chicken breast. Can't stand chicken
I never
breast.
really care for chicken, but we eat a lot.
Stuff.
The goat that we have had,
well, that says all we need right there.
Actually is actually one of the mildest meats that I've eaten. Not a distinct flavor at all. The closest to beef on the grill in hamburgers of anything I've ever eaten. So, but again, I've eaten lots of deer. Some of it is processed in a way that it's super gamey, super strong, and not good at all. But half of that is processing, right? And then I've eaten some that is, you can still tell. I can still tell I've eaten a lot of venison.
Lanai,
it's
on
not
that little island.
Like
Lanai, the axis deer is considered the best deer in the world, and the top chefs try to get it off Lanai to get it, because it is just the best deer in the world, and it's nothing like regular deer. That's what's in. I think too that maybe that brings the point of like, you are what you eat when you're an animal. It's like you guys have heard of, hunters know this, mud duck. How some people go get duck and they'll go to like muddy areas or things, then the duck is like, oh, this doesn't taste good. It's like where you hunt, I think, matters too, and probably how it's raised. And
Jonathan said goat was most similar to duck for him, not me.
Yeah.
Duck's pretty greasy. Duck's good though, but it's kind of greasy to me. But
like I say, it's like bald eagle or spotted owl.
Okay.
So the thing you can do though, the thing you can do for your experiment, Carl, I mean, Chad, is you can do the, remove the goat for a while, go back to beef, and then reintroduce it. If you get the exact same results, then or lamb, then you know, okay, this is. It wasn't.
Well, that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm saying I'm doing it. Yeah. I've been doing it now for the last month or so. I've been jumping back and forth and trying to notice these differences of what, I did that with coffee. Well, I think you and I had a little bit of talk about the coffee, how I quit, in the 2-year mark I quit, and it was huge once I quit. Really? And this is why I urge people to stop coffee and see what they notice. And if not, do it again in a year, do it again in 2 years, do it again in 3 years and see. And if it doesn't bug you like 3 or 4 years later, hey, more power to you.
I'm down to a pot and 2 cups today.
There you go.
Well, what I removed the coffee, and then I was doing my sprints and feeling good, and then I re-added the coffee, and then I have injuries, service related injuries. My ankle is one of them, and it started. I thought I pushed myself sprinting too hard. I'm like, oh, I must have pushed myself too hard because I have arthritis coming up. My ankle's swelling, and then the next couple of days, my shoulder started hurting again, which is another injury. And I thought, oh, I must have slept wrong. And then I was interviewing Darlene on my channel. She's got an ADHD kid that got cured with, carnivore. And she goes, are you drinking coffee? When I told her that, and I'm like, yeah. She goes, cut it back out. And I did. Both those things went away. So I was like, okay, that's, for me, that's all I needed to know. Now I have reintroduced coffee once a week just to see if drinking a certain amount causes it. And so far I could do it once or twice a week. So I could do a social, go out and have a cup of coffee with someone and not be a big issue. And there's no addiction. I don't yearn for it the next day or anything. So just because I'm single, I like going on dates, and coffee dates are pretty common, right? And it feels weird just getting a water. So that's where I'm at on coffee. But I never would have known if I had not cut it out. That's the point.
Yeah.
And that's what you.
I'm going to hit,
right, Chad?
Yeah. So I've seen that question.
It's you get in control. Let's hit this. Larry, you want to take that first? Grounding helps with static.
Grounding helps with static electricity. I would say probably not. My background is nuclear power, and so I've been around electricity a long time, and I know that we used to wear rubber pads and rubber boots when we were handling a lot of when there's a lot of static electricity in the air when we're working around switching gear. And I can tell you right now, if you're getting static electricity, your body's building up a charge, and it's discharging to a device that's a ground. So wearing, while you're grounded, you're not going to cause that charge. If you go in the store
while you're grounded, but afterwards, not going to.
Yeah.
While you're grounded, maybe not. But once, I find the best thing if you have a lot of static in your house is that you hold someone's hand before you touch it. Right? If it's really bad, that's the best thing.
This is in the supermarket why I go up and I quickly slap the thing to get rid of that charge really quick.
Yeah, low humidity.
Unless I just wear a grounding strap with me and tap into every corner of the,
Because we burn wood in the wintertime, it is hard for us to keep the humidity level high, which is everywhere in the really cold anywhere. And static becomes a real issue if you get the humidity up.
It's also about the shoes you're wearing. Some shoes just build up more. You know what I mean? True. Like the kind of material on there, I do think build up more. It's like rubbing your feet through the carpet. And when you're a kid, there's definitely some shoes that make a difference. But yeah,
I remember we used to shock my brother and sister. We'd rub our feet across and try to shock, your siblings. I don't know if you guys did that, but that's what I did as a kid. That was fun.
All the time. Yeah. I wonder why the dogs would bite me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never had grass-fed meat, still had amazing results.
Yeah, again, we've had some, but predominantly we have not. I think Ken Berry really has, Dr. Ken Berry says, if you eat hot dogs and that's the best meat you can buy, right? You're vastly better off than eating crap, right? And so eat the best meat you can get or that you want to pay for. I don't really want to pay for, I would eat ribeye all the time if it was free and grass-fed, maybe, I don't notice much difference. But I don't want to spend the money for that. I don't know that I even could if I wanted to. So you eat the best meat you can eat and don't eat crap. No seed oils, no sugars, no grains, right? I mean, stop eating that stuff.
To this question for Christina, lamb is so expensive here and there are so many farms around raising sheep. Riddle me that. Mine comes from Australia. Riddle me that. I mean, from Costco and Sam's Club, I get the little chops and they've been $5.95 a pound. And Sam's Club occasionally has them on sale, but pretty hard to get them on sale there because they literally only have a teeny section of the lamb. Now, the other fancy lollipop lamb, like the little ribeye lambs with the rib bone long and everything, are like $16, $17 a pound. But yet I can buy the cheaper, and then the leg of lamb is about $3.95. So I think if you're looking at lamb, try to maybe look for something that is like an imported Australian.
Yeah, part of the issue with chops. Part of the issue with lamb or goat, by the way, the reason why we didn't eat more goat was because of the cost, and we raised our own. But if I can sell a goat for $3.50 a pound live, and you start to do the math on what it costs to eat that goat, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so I could buy a
where are you
lot
at?
of Central Missouri.
Oh, okay.
I could buy a lot of beef, right? For
Yeah.
a lot of beef for what I'd have to pay. Now, I don't really have to pay for that goat because I've raised it, right? But it's the issue of you can take the goat to the auction and get $250 for it. Or you can either butcher it yourself or pay $60 to have it butchered. If you pay $60, you're into it $310 for 30 pounds of meat, right?
Yeah.
Well, $10 a pound, it's like, okay, no, I'll just sell the stinking goat and go buy some beef, right? So, and lamb is, by the way, it's about the same. So, but the reason why goat is expensive, the consumption of goat in this country actually outstrips its production. So goat is commodity, imported. Right? Goat is imported into this country to meet demand, and it's just is what it is.
On this, the boneless leg of lamb, never buy it again. If it's a taste or whatever, I don't like it nearly as much as the little chop. So I've tried it like 3 or 4 different ways, and I'm kind of not. And as far as this, is there any difference in taste, ground lamb and the chops? I don't know because I've never found ground lamb. I only have the chops. So
we have
Chuck. Okay.
We
so
butchered
there's a difference in taste?
We butchered our own lamb as well, right? And our own goat. We've raised both. Yeah, the distinct flavor is still the distinct flavor. So, if you take deer, for example, and mix it half and half with hamburger and make tacos, which we don't really make tacos anymore, but we did, in almost no difference in flavor. If you mix a pound of ground beef with a pound of lamb, you still have lamb, right? So not as much, but it's still there. Like you make a meatloaf with lamb, it's lamb. It is a distinct flavor, and it won't be different. Not significant.
That's interesting. Even on the cat, you got a good cat. You got a smart cat. That's what I say when you read that. I have the fussiest cat ever, and we'll turn up her nose at store-bought mince, but just woof down all the portion 2 days in a row with the grass-fed.
Yeah.
Finally, you're treating me right.
Our cat, we always found that the best way to try new food for our cat was not feed it for 3 days.
Right.
There you go. Yeah.
It loves its new food. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to put out a video though on the lamb thing here, but it won't be till this coming week. And then I'm going to show.
We're going to try lamb again.
A bunch of it.
Maybe that's tomorrow. We're going to try lamb again.
Well, I know I end up eating about 8 of those little chops, which is usually 2.5 to 2.8 pounds, but the bones are in there, so the bones come out.
That's a great question. A walk on the golf course barefoot, depending on what club you're at, you might get evicted.
Yeah,
you probably do that in Hawaii.
Quit coffee end of March. Yeah,
I am going to quit coffee unless something changes. My plan to quit coffee will coincide with my death. So, in about 60 years, that's my goal. Chad loves Parmesan. I really like Parmesan a lot. I eat it a lot. So
I think
Larry, you got a favorite cheese? Do you eat cheese, Larry?
When I do, not very often. And when I do, I used to put cheese. When I started this diet, I put cheese as a condiment on my burgers and stuff. Now I just eat burger patties without it. And the only cheese I eat is a hard cheese, like the Parmesan type cheese.
That's what
they flake. So I eat some of those. But that's it. I don't eat very much at all.
We do cheddar, Swiss, Parmesan,
and I only do it, like I said, mainly because it does help me. My other favorite used to be is smoked Gouda, or Gouda, as some people would call it. Smoked Gouda cheese was one of my favorite cheeses. But and I have been doing an experiment for 1 month with dairy. And because I kind of had been doing this lamb and back to the beef, I also wanted to throw in dairy and see what my dairy tolerance would be with lamb and beef. You know what I mean? Again, I'm just curious if goat cheese. I actually like goat cheese. Goat cheese is really good.
Have you tried goat milk?
No.
Yes. Fresh.
Yeah, goat milk tastes. It has a finish like goat cheese. It's kind of nice. It tastes like milk when you first put it in. And then when it goes down, you have a finish like you just ate some goat cheese, which I like.
Interestingly though, have you had it fresh, Larry? Because see,
No, I'd like
yeah,
to.
again, this is the thing. There is just this difference. Fresh goat milk in the fridge. If I took out whole milk, goat milk, virtually nobody can tell the difference.
Really,
yeah. But again, now it's fresh milk. Milked 30 minutes ago, put directly in the fridge, and also milk does taste different from different breeds of goat. So
right.
Some have a little more that goat kind of profile, but
we have a place up here that sells raw milks, and I can probably get goat milk there too. Of course, they sell it for non-human consumption, which that's normal in Texas. So I'll probably end up getting some because I found a place up here 20 miles north that does it at a farmer's market.
Yeah,
but they're a major producer, and they do sell raw milk for non-human consumption.
So on this, I have never worn one, but from my keto days, I still had a meter, and once in a while I pulled it out just to see, and I'm still so low. It'd be fun to do, but it's just an expense I don't want to tackle right now. I'd rather throw that into a better grade of ribeye every couple, I need to get hold of a company to like sponsor, or something, a CGM thing.
Yeah, I've never had one. I did test my ketones and sugar for a long time, daily, but I have not. Now, actually, I checked it a couple of days ago, but I don't do that regularly now.
I don't either.
For this, Christina,
ketones, but don't do it anymore.
I'm gonna say this. Susan is so great. I'm waiting till my vacation to quit. Drink 20 ounces of espresso. I imagine it's like espresso then with something in there, not 20 ounces of pure, and get blinding migraines every time I try to quit. And some of the people know that I used to be a huge espresso fanatic, like at least 3, sometimes 4, 21-gram triple shots a day. Now, I tried to quit and I had the blinding headaches, the craving the next day, and I couldn't do it. And at the 2-year mark when I quit, and I bought into again, this is 2 years ago because I've been doing carnivore for 4 years. So even 2 years ago, I think there was even a little less push to get rid of, coffee's okay. Ken Berry does coffee, so it's okay. Well, Dr. Chafee won't and Baker won't. So pick your hero and follow him. But when I tried to quit, those headaches, everything else were there. At the 2-year mark, I quit and there was nothing. It was the most bizarre thing being a coffee person for life, that I had no headache, no withdrawals, and it never, ever came. Now, did I heal enough that I was strong enough that I could just quit it because I didn't wean myself off it or anything else? So that was my result, that I had those. And I know Larry's quit.
Yeah, I quit twice, but this is interesting because the first time I quit, I didn't have headaches. The second time I quit, I had a migraine for like 2 days. So, I don't know. I mean, and I'd been carnivore longer, right? So I have no idea. It's just my body. It's an N=1 thing. And it depends what your blood chemistry and everything, whatever is going on in your biochemical engine there is going to determine how you get through it. But I would just suggest, if you are going to do it on a weekend. We have nothing planned. Prepare for a 3-day headache just in case, and go for it.
And Chuck won't be able to say what he does yet with quitting, but one day.
Just cut down, moderation.
As he holds his
I have decided that the proper approach to coffee is this. If I ever drink it to excess, which would be 2 cups at once, then I will have to quit.
I think it's one of those things, if it affects you or not. It's interesting when you quit, if it doesn't, if you get positive results. Because what were your positive results, Larry, coming off that when you quit?
I think that my energy level stabilized more, like it was more stable throughout the day, where I didn't need to pick me up in the morning, and I didn't need one again in the afternoon, because I used to drink a couple cups a day. I would drink 1 in the morning, 1 later in the afternoon, or sometimes 2 in the morning, depending on, if I got up really early. And saving money, that was a huge result, because I had to spend at least $80 to $100 a month, going out to hit Starbucks or buying stuff, even the coffee I get at home is not cheap because I'm not into cheap experience. So like if I'm going to experience something, it's going to be pretty good. So that's just the way I did. Not at your level though, Chad. I know you were pretty extreme with your coffee addiction.
I was kind of really
quite
bad
there
extreme.
with the industrial espresso machine.
Our machine, when I quit coffee and we unplugged my commercial espresso machine, our power bill went down by $100 a month.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's on a dedicated 20 amp breaker and it drew 1900 watts all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a
Just staying
lot.
hot.
That's a lot of.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it takes an hour and a half to warm up a commercial machine. So, you know, and I would in the morning by the time I'd pick it on, I wanted it ready the whole time. So it just from early in the morning, it just, you know, stayed on.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. In all honesty, I have drank a pot and 2 cups today. I may have another cup of coffee. And I know for a fact I probably would feel better if I was to cut back to, you know, a couple. And again, this cup's huge, right? If I would cut back to a couple cups a day, you know, I probably would feel better in reality. So there probably would be some benefit. I probably drink more than I ought. There are times when I certainly know that I've been over caffeinated, right? But it's hard. It's hard to get there, but you know, I can do it. So yeah, I think that it's like so many things. If it certainly causes you inflammation, I probably don't sleep as well because I drink too much caffeine. There's times when certainly in the afternoon I will get pretty tired because I've stayed up really late. I get up early and, you know, you suck down coffee, you know, literally, you know, a whole pot. Well, yeah, eventually your body just says, okay, yeah, that was nice. I've had enough. And now I'm done. So, I probably would feel better if I cut back. Right. But
to be
don't
honest,
make those
I
decisions.
love coffee.
Yeah, I do too.
I love coffee. And I wish, and it's not fair that I can't drink coffee every day. It's also not fair that I can't have my favorite Ben and Jerry's ice cream at night. And it's not fair that I can't have a bourbon to go to bed every night. But that's just the way it is. I mean, when you get to a certain age, it's like when you were a child, you child things. And when you become a man or an adult, you got to grow up, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
For me,
well, yes, that's it.
That's where I had to make the decision. And this is my decision. Yeah.
I would like to eat pizza and Twinkies all day, but
yeah, I don't miss the coffee now. You know, I 100%. Still kind of would like the idea of it once in a while, but I really don't miss it these days. The one thing I'm doing with the bone broth I'm making is I'm putting cream in it and then using one of those little teeny whiskey, you know, they're not very big. It's like the little end of the whisker thing that you would put into coffee to kind of stir it up that runs on a battery, those little stick
whisker.
Whisker, frother, whatever they're called, like a little espresso frother. You know, for some reason, milk with those.
I think whisker is not the correct term, but I thought you said whiskey.
I don't know.
You were like saying, I just a little whiskey and now I don't miss coffee.
But I put that in. So I put in some cream,
no coffee,
and it's actually really good. It's like this hot, frothy, creamy kind of thing. What's interesting is the amount of lamb that I eat for about 5 days, I can make about 5 days worth of bone broth. So the amount of the lamb I'm eating, the bones that are left over, make almost that same day's worth of the bone broth, which I find interesting. And it's really good if I am kind of toward the evening thinking, well, I didn't eat enough, I want to eat some more. I can just pull out one of those and nuke it so it's hot and very satisfying. I'm actually really liking the bone broth. I never thought I would.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm not a big
bone
fan.
broth's a good. I put salt in mine, smoked salt. I get Redmond smoked salt and put it in there when I do bone broth. That's what my transition drink was. And I put butter in there, and it gives a little bit of bite, you know, a little smoky flavor.
That's probably like the cream or the butter in there. See, like I add a lot of smoked salt as I make it. Like, so when I first make it, I throw in a bunch of smoked salt as it's in the Instant Pot doing it. So I do have that really kind of, you know, smoky, salty, whatever. And then with the cream. And if I just try to stir the cream in, the fat, because I keep the fat in my bone broth. I don't skim it off.
Good.
But the when you use that little, and I won't call it a whisker, I don't know, the little frother.
The whisker.
I think it like microlyzes the fat enough, if that's the correct term. I don't know what I'm looking for, but it breaks the fat into enough.
Yes, emulsifies. That is it.
Emulsifies it. And then also like for an emulsification thing, I don't know what you would call it, but like the cream really helps kind of hold it all together too and suspends it. You know what I mean? So it's just this nice, so by the time I'm done drinking, there's no separation of those kind of things.
You atomized your fat with a whisker. Hey, by the way, Jonathan, the fat content is about the same, but because the fat is different, is why goat's milk does not produce heavy cream the way cow's milk does. But 3 to 5% is about the same percentage of fat depending on the goat breed that you get with cow's milk. By the way, we are at an hour and a half, Chad, and I'm getting.
You got to get running.
I'm getting text messages probably from. Oh, my wife says we're going to sous vide lamb. Oh, that'd be nice. My daughter said she called me. I didn't answer, and then she called my wife, and she said that in the chat. So she was thinking she was going to call me, and I was going to answer while we were on live stream.
There you go. I know that the other thing I've been doing with the lamb is my dry brining that I talk about so much. You know, where I'll salt it, put it on a rack, and stick it in the fridge, and it definitely helps. Texture, flavor, everything else. And I was doing the legs for 2 days. So like I tried the legs roasted, and I tried, just straight grilling, and I tried the sous vide. And the sous vide method is best. Sous vide and then finish on a grill because it's so rough. And what I've been doing with the legs is unnetting them, because like the boneless ones come netted, and I just kind of open it and make sure it's flat so I get lost of surface area. But again, I'm not a huge fan of that one right now. Go down to this last one here.
All right, guys, I got to drop off. My dog.
Yep.
Duke here wants to go eat. It's 5 o'clock. It's dinner time.
Well,
for my
we'll just sign
dog,
off because I think we're pretty much,
Yeah, I got to get out of here.
Jumping in.
So yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Chad, let me know next week, either in 2 weeks or maybe next Monday. You just let me know. I'm good either way.
I'll let you know. I'll talk to Dave and we'll figure out what's going on.
Yep. Very nice to meet you, Larry.
It's fun to have you on.
I'll see you again soon.
You too, man. It's great talking.
All right.
Alrighty.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Have a good day.
Guys.